Hi, let's take a look at how Oral Roberts teaches on the baptism of the Holy Spirit and then gift of tongues. What Oral Roberts really surprised me is how he helps you distinguish between speaking in tongue and then gift of tongues. There are two different things. I kind of already know that there are differences between those two tongues, but I didn't really do much study on it until I take this course. The way O. Roberts explains was so self-explanatory. I thought it was, mind-blowing. In terms of speaking in tongue, you know, speaking in tongue is seen as a first initial evidence of having received when you receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit. If you look at the book of Acts chapter 2 verse 8, we could see how disciples were praying in the upper room in Jerusalem, and during the day of Pentecost they were baptized in the Holy Spirit and they began to speak in different tongues. So on the other hand, gift of tongues, it is a gift of the Holy Spirit. So Holy Spirit decides whoever he chooses, he wishes to give. So that is his part. So you can pray about it if you wish to receive. But Holy Spirit will decide and see if he will give you or not. So because it is a gift, there so many Christians, so many churches, they're so confused on those two gifts. Remember, to my understanding, speaking in tongue is for yourself, is to edify yourself, your spirit, and it is unknown language how Holy Spirit, speak through you directly to God. And gift of tongues is for others. It's to minister others. So speaking in tongue is for yourself to edify yourself, your spirit. Gift of tongues is for others to do. It's useful in ministry. That's where Paul stated, unless you have interpreter for the gift of tongue, you cannot speak. You cannot use that gift of tongue to preach, to give testimony when there is no interpreter. So that you see how the difference is right there. So we can't, I feel like a lot of most of the Christians, they're generalizing everything. We can't do that. We have to learn, continue to learn until we fully understand what the difference is between those two. There are two phrases that we will need to take consideration. Here we go. It is true that gift of tongue is not the first initial evidence of having received baptism of the Holy Spirit. It is not true when receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit, you can't speak in tongue. One more time. It is true that gift of tongue is not the first initial evidence of having received baptism of the Holy Spirit. It is not true that when receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit, you can't speak in tongues. Do you see the differences right there? So I feel like I would like to encourage to those who are trying to say, when you believe in Jesus Christ, you are baptized in the Holy Spirit and you don't have to be speaking in tongue. So it is not true biblically. Speaking in biblically is not true. So we gotta learn, ask from God, ask God to baptize you in the Holy Spirit. And then that's there. Okay, so going back to the questions that are being asked, what are the differences between baptism of the Holy Spirit and the gift of tongues? So baptism of the Holy Spirit is, John the Baptist tells us that Jesus is the baptizer of the Holy Spirit. So you gotta pray to Jesus until you are baptized in the Holy Spirit. Baptism of the Holy Spirit is not an optional thing. It is, something that all of us must baptized in the Holy Spirit, And gift of tongues is a tongue, is a gift of the Holy Spirit. You can pray about it. That gift of tongues is to minister others. How I just stated a while ago that, in order to use that gift of tongues, you must have interpreter to translate what you are saying in the Spirit, So what are the practical steps to receiving the baptism of the Holy Spirit according to Oral Roberts? So you gotta pray to God until you receive it. You gotta hungry for it. Ask God, knock the door until you receive it, until knock the door until it opens to you. So, it is a great opportunity, when I was being baptized in the Holy Spirit, it's exactly the way how Oral Roberts teaches and the way the Bible teaches, you 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 can't explain the feeling of being baptized in the Holy Spirit. You wouldn't want to trade with anything, It's a feeling that you don't. It's a feeling of, heaven. It's a taste of heaven. Where you get to experience with God face to face, even though you can't see God, but you can tell that the presence of God is just right there, literally right there, gazing to you. That's why I encourage you, if you haven't baptized in the Holy Spirit yet, I encourage you to pray to Jesus and knock the door until it opens to you. It is available to all believers. So take the opportunity to baptize in the Holy Spirit and see what God can do with your life when you're baptized in the Holy Spirit and when you're anointed. It's available to you, so continue to pray until you receive it. Yep, it's right there. And then continue to pray and see if the gift of tongues is also for you or not. I believe it's available, but pray about it. So I believe that's it for the day. And I believe this will be a blessing to you. God bless.